If you've seen the X-Men trailer for Avengers Doomsday, you might be asking yourself, what the heck happened? Everything's busted up, Professor X and Magneto are looking all sullen, and Cyclops is blasting his eye beams haphazardly while screaming his head off. Things have gotten dark. But why? Well, let's dig into the possibilities.
How many did you see?
14,605,000.
The trailer opens not with a bang, but with a somber, brooding sweep of a familiar location, Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, which is pretty much exactly as we remember it from the OG X-Men films, albeit with a lot more disrepair and bullet holes in books than we're used to. There's also just a general sense of dread hanging in the air. Of the three characters we get, the first ones are Professor Xavier and Eric Lyncher, played by the forever iconic Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, a duo we haven't seen together since Days of Future Past way back in 2014. We see a chess piece floating in the air, not a queen as some have suggested and theorized about, but rather a king, and the two old friends and rivals holding hands, presumably as things are reaching the end. In a gravelly Shakespearean tone, Professor X narrates. He says, "Death comes for us all. That's all I know for sure." To which Magneto replies, "The question isn't, are you prepared to die? The question is, who would you be when you close your eyes?" This relatively peaceful moment is then shattered by a jump cut to a war zone. We see Scott Summers clad for the first time ever in that classic comic-accurate blue and yellow suit. He's of course played by James Marsden, and he's screaming outward as he lets loose a raw optic blast into the sky. Behind him, just kinda strolling along, are the towering legs of a Sentinel looming through the smoke and rubble. The message here is pretty clear. The X-Men are finally, truly making their last stand. So the question, of course, is simple. What happened? Why is everything falling apart? Why are these two rivals friendly once more? What's the deal with the Sentinel? Well, to understand what might be going on, we have to first look at the source material. One possibility arises from the 2015 Secret Wars event, wherein the Marvel Universe 616 and the Ultimate Universe 1610 collided in a final incursion. The heroes of both worlds fought desperately, only for the X-Men to be mostly erased, with a few surviving on Doom's battle world. We may see the X-Men fail to save their world from a similar incursion, with only a few survivors like Cyclops and Beast being pulled into the MCU's reality at the last second. The somber tone of the trailer, specifically the focus on Magneto and Xavier holding hands, all that stuff, also evokes the tragedy of Genosha. In the comics, the mutant island was wiped out by Sentinels in a matter of minutes. If Dr. Doom is using the Sentinels as his personal enforcers, we could be witnessing the MCU's version of the E is for Extinction arc, where the mutant race, residing in Genosha, is brought to its knees just as they finally achieve peace. Then there's Avengers vs. X-Men, which rumors suggest is a major influence on Doomsday. Unless I'm making that up. Who knows? In the comics, this conflict went down because the Avengers wanted to stop the Phoenix Force, while the X-Men saw it as their only hope for rebirth. This leads to the Phoenix Force splitting itself between 5 individuals, including Cyclops. In the movie, the conflict will likely be more tragic, both sides fighting to stop an incursion, with each team believing the other's world must die so theirs can live. The trailer's focus on a devastated X-Men team suggests they might be the underdogs in this fight, battered by Doom and forced to defend themselves against a desperate consortium of MCU characters like Steve Rogers and Thor. But there's another curious aspect to all of this, and that's the children. While none are seen in the teaser, there has been quite a lot of build-up surrounding the next generation of heroes, notably with Thor having his daughter Love by his side, and now Steve Rogers having his own child. Beyond those, you've got future young Avengers like Kamala Khan and Kate Bishop, not to mention Cassie Lang, who just recently was spotted wearing an Avengers Doomsday crew cap, suggesting her own inclusion in this epic. Hell, even Black Panther has a kid. Remember that? This leads to a theory that I most recently saw those fine specimens of manhood over at Screen Crush pushing, and Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. Basically, remember that in Love and Thunder, Thor passes Stormbreaker on to Love. However, in the Thor Will Return teaser, he once again has Stormbreaker, and he's even praying to see his daughter again. This could just be a case of Daddy going off to war and yearning to see his loved one again, but it seems like a pretty specific thing to place in a teaser for the biggest movie of 2026 and possibly the biggest in the Marvel franchise. Add to that, we already saw Doom potentially kidnapping Franklin Richards at the end of Fantastic Four First Steps, so the dude already has a penchant for nabbing kids. Exactly what his purpose is, I don't know, presumably to cull all the timelines or become the most powerful being in the universe, something or another, Doom stuff. Now, this brings me back to the X-Men. There are a few powerful kiddos within this universe, but the one we're focusing on is Rachel Summers, an Omega-level mutant who is the offspring of Jean Grey and, you guessed it, Scott Summers, from an alternate reality, but we're gonna ignore that. She's also, she figures a little into Avengers vs. X-Men, wherein her niece Hope is thought to be the incoming host of the Phoenix Force and in turn winds up helping to destroy it after the whole fiasco with Cyclops and the rest of the Phoenix Five. Anyway, often Rachel possesses the powers of the Phoenix Force, which is itself one of the most powerful entities in the X-Men universe. Similarly, Franklin Richards is one of the most powerful beings in his reality, while Love also contains an impossibly huge power thanks to her being revived by Eternity at the end of Love and Thunder. So, it seems incredibly likely that that's what's going on with the X-Men, a world-ending incursion and the theft of a child, most likely Rachel Summers. Now, this isn't a perfect theory. For one thing, Thor seems to be saying in his teaser that he wants to return to Love, meaning she's probably just waiting at home for her beloved stepdad to make his return. Also, Love and Thunder already played with the idea of kidnapping loads of children, and it's just all the more unlikely that Marvel would just repeat a plot thread from one of their least popular big-screen adventures. There's definitely some holes here, but the focus on legacy and children throughout the Multiverse Saga does feel like a conscious effort to push some mysterious grand plan. Or it's all just a complete mess. That is also entirely possible. We've all seen the same movies. But back to the teaser. As previously noted, we also get a Sentinel in the last seconds. Some folks have speculated that this is actually a Doom bot, which makes some sense. After all, it's Avengers Doomsday, not Avengers Sentinels Day. However, it's my belief that these are indeed Sentinels, and what we're seeing is one of two things. It could be a part of a montage or opening battle that's irrelevant to the encompassing story, meaning that the Sentinels are there because, hey, it'd be cool to show some Sentinels and we gotta establish the X-Men universe anyway. Here's Scott screaming. The other possibility is that this is the moment when Scott Summers realizes that his child has been taken. Yeah, I'm still playing with this theory. Give me a break. It's the most sensible take I've seen so far. In this moment, Scott is trying to make it through the latest impossible stakes when Doom either shows up or runs away with Rachel in tow, and Scott is reacting by going positively apeshit. Or the third option is, I don't know, he's heating up some day-old nachos. Why not? I legitimately don't know what you expect. I'm just some guy on the internet talking about a minute-long teaser for a movie that doesn't come out for a year. Oh gosh. Is this just me having a mental breakdown? Oh boy. So what happened to the X-Men? I don't know. And no one outside of the cast and crew of Avengers Doomsday knows either. This is pure speculation, baby. However, there are definitely clues to look into, and more likely than not, it'll all make a lot more sense once the full trailer hits our eyeballs. Until then, what do you think is going on with the X-Men in Avengers Doomsday? Let me know in the comments, and hey, thank you for watching ScreenRant.